Just got in actually.
Hey there. Oh, I see Jeff, you're in there. As well put your name in there. Hopefully that helps you. I'm slipping in a code of conduct thing because I've been doing that elsewhere here too.
All right, thanks everyone for joining. Amir's going to be late today. I imagine some people might be trickling in also. And so I'll be running the meeting. If you see the notes link in the chat, you can join the doc where we used to go over our agenda. I think both of you are there.
I don't think either of us count as new faces.
Yeah. Nathan, no, I don't know that I've met Nathan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's
Um,
fix that.
yeah. Hi. I'm Nathan. I just
Mhm.
started contributing to Criticality Score. That's, I
Welcome,
think,
Nathan.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you here at this time. I know Caleb is on Australia time, so he can't join at this one. So it'd be great to hear what's going on with that project more regularly. Yeah, so meeting time reminder. This time is our normal EMEA friendly time. December 29th is canceled, and the next meeting in January will be at our later APAC friendly time. But yeah, let's chat, Nathan. How are you doing with these PRs and and issues?
So recently, so I've been contributing, and I've got a couple PRs open. Not a couple, maybe like I think, what, 6 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Um, so, or, no, 7 open, but it would be helpful if I got some more reviews on them to like see whether any improvement on them and such.
Okay,
This
so
is the
have you been
bane of
getting
many.
reviews so
Uh,
far by somebody else?
I've been getting a couple by Caleb, but well,
Okay.
it's only so much one person can do and everything. So
Okay.
Yeah, sounds like we need to nag Caleb.
Yeah,
That would
so
be my immediate solution.
well, I mean, one of the things that we've done on projects where we have a lot more projects than people is we may have somebody that's not necessarily a maintainer, but is willing to commit to doing reviews, kind of join uh, and help out in that place. So we could do a call for help from some of the other OpenSSF projects where we have more developers uh, and see if anybody is interested, and also see if the maintainer is interested in having review help. Not necessarily like project leadership or direction, but just code review, and then get some more reviewers added to the project. Um, I, for
thank
one,
you.
would definitely volunteer.
Yeah,
uh,
thanks.
but it would need to be with again the approval of Caleb or the other maintainers on this project, which I'm not one of.
Um, and I would say another thing would be that so I've got this issue, and right now I think Caleb is, I don't know, not responding. He's probably on vacation or something, and that's blocking me right now because I need a CSV file to run, well, score uh in criticality score, a certain file, I guess, in criticality score,
Mhm,
Hmm.
but I'm not sure how to get the CSV file. Like, I don't see any example or docs for that.
Uh,
mhm.
you are a project that has inadequate number of viewers and has not got good enough documentation. This has never happened before. Uh, so I mean, these are all totally valid issues. So we need to. I mean, frankly, now for the other Jeff, I think asking for other reviewers is that's the right call. Um, Unfortunately, I think for that one, that's much more stuck in the heads of an existing developer. Um, this is
Yeah,
an
I
awkward
think
time of
I'll
year for
just,
that.
yeah, I think I'll just ask Caleb for that one.
Yeah.
Um,
And even if
yeah,
it's just an example that may unstick you.
Yeah, like, because I just need to be able to know how to run it, I guess. And to run it, I need that CSV file.
yeah. I'm wondering, do we have a criticality score Slack channel? If we do, I'm not on it.
I don't remember that there being one. That doesn't mean there isn't one.
Edge.
And if not, there's always the possibility of a mailing list. So other than this one.
Um, I don't see one when I'm searching. So since I don't
Okay.
see one specifically for criticality score, that would mean that the right channel to discuss this would be our working group channel, our
Yeah.
securing critical projects working group.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, don't hesitate to um, you know, drop a note in Slack, tag Caleb, and be like, hey, what's going on with this? Because again, yeah, the time zone differences mean it's hard to like get things
Yeah,
maybe synchronously like in this meeting, or people don't see their email
yeah.
because he's not tagged here. Maybe he didn't see it. So yeah, I
Thank
would
you.
try
Yeah.
Slack. We're not our channel is not too busy by any means, so we could use some more discussion there.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. I would be unsurprised if there was documentation already be there. So, but he should at least be able to provide an example CSV file. And with
Yeah.
the example, we should be able to easily backfill. And frankly, I would beg back to you, Nathan, if he does give an example, you're gonna have to, if you have to figure it out,
Yeah.
Whoever figures out what the format is, please document it.
Yeah.
And we'll get that fixed. So awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell you what, if we don't get that result, if you don't get any responses by what? Not this, the next real meeting. Well, that's January 12th.
Yeah.
Then let me know. And I don't know exactly what I can do, but I can try to bump it up somehow.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, worst comes to worst, we can beg back to Abhishek, who's I think more involved with scorecards. But I mean, this is also I know that he works with this thing, so like, I
Yeah, I
believe
mean,
he's
I don't
contributed
think
to
it
it.
should
Yeah,
come to
he's one of
that.
the
I think it
contributors.
would be,
Yeah,
if you ping him on the, if you reply here and at Caleb and on GitHub or Slack, you
Yeah.
should get a response.
Yeah.
yeah. It's just I agree with you. If that doesn't work, what's the next escalation step? I mean, I'm not thinking in terms of trying to get anybody in trouble. It's the, oh wait, what do we do to get it unstuck? That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you.
coming here is the right answer too. Like,
Yeah.
so I can definitely help too if you don't get a response.
Yeah.
You can
Okay.
ping me
Thank
on
you.
Slack as well, or yeah.
I think that's pretty much all I needed, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, welcome. Appreciate your contributions.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
David, you trying to set deadlines?
Well, trying to get something done. This, I mean,
Yeah, I agree. So, if we get to I'm looking at our last meeting and I feel like I had a really good idea, which was, we kind of have two things going on, or what we don't have two things going on. We had an old list, and then we have our new idea, which is essentially going to be uh, all projects that come from surveys, which we get out into the
yeah.
open, and then we evaluate projects based on the survey and based on automated data we pull. So my proposal is that we call that V2.
Mhm. Yeah,
And the old process.
I would, if I may tweak that, you call it
Yeah,
the old list. I call it the current list.
current list. Yeah.
Because that's
So
the only list we have.
so we call the new idea, the new process V2. We call the current list V1.
Perfect.
Uh, and in that way, we can essentially have parallel going,
Whoops, I missed
where
it. You said a word and I missed it entirely. Can you please repeat?
parallel efforts
Ah,
going, where we can work on V1, not V1.1. I think we have a suggestion to use dates. So like V1, December 2022 or January 2023, and just do another iteration of that process, while also working on our V2 process.
yeah, although the date-based system doesn't handle branches very well, which is fundamentally what you've got. You've got two branches.
Well,
Same process update list.
yeah, so the minor version would be the date and the major version would be V1 or V2.
Yeah, but okay, so V2 is taking longer is the fundamental problem.
Yeah, so V2, the main problem was we decided to, we're gonna have this Google list, this Google form to fill out a spreadsheet, but we also decided we needed to have like criticality, like when we as a group meet and look at that and vote critical or not, we need
Yeah,
data in front of us, and we need to see that criticality score. We need to see the download counts. We need to see the Harvard, where it ranks on the Harvard study. And we didn't think we had the manpower to gather that manually for every submission. if we're getting a lot of submissions here. So that's kind of what happened. And so we wanted to build automation. It's kind of, we started a new project of building automation to gather the data on submissions automatically.
I would call that V11, by the way, the updated old list.
You don't like the date?
No, because dates don't work. Dates don't work on as soon as you have multiple branches, and you have multiple branches.
Why not? Because that's just the minor version, like
Okay. Well,
the
yes.
major version. You know, if
Right.
you could do a string,
Yeah,
you do a string compare.
or date. Yeah, I guess your theory is once you switch over to V2, you're not going to be updating V1s anymore. So I guess as long as
Maybe,
you,
yeah. I mean, like there could be unforeseen problems with the V2, even if we get one out. There might be
right?
appetite for us to refresh V1 again in the future.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah. So
this is an awkward time of year to do a V1 update, but
yeah, I mean, we're not getting it done today, so it's not going to be done this year. But yeah, I think we said last meeting, we said that we wanted to do some work time this meeting on getting our GitHub repo in order and creating these directories, assuming everybody agreed, which I agree. Yeah, so once we do that, I think we should just go ahead and plan on an update. David, any suggestions on like communications for, gathering people to do an updated V1 list?
I mean, frankly, I mean, I know there's a couple people that were unhappy with the V1 creation process because we were under the gun, because we needed it as input for the token distribution. But I think
Right.
the reality is, um, and this is not a critique of you at all, but basically, without a pressure of a timeline, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And that, this is, so, oh, and I see Amir's phone, not Amir, but it's just his phone has arrived.
Just
So
my
welcome,
phone,
Hey,
Amir.
yes.
Amir's phone.
Hey. Hi,
Yeah.
everyone.
So, hi. So I was just commenting that,
Yeah,
although, you know, although I know that some people were, hey, wait a minute, this was kind of hurried, the first version. The reality was without we got to get it done by some date. And a little slip we can live with. But really without the pressure of the date, it's work, it's hard enough work, and it's easier to delay. So I think
yeah,
I think trying to set a deadline and saying this is when we want it by, and then backfilling to what do we need to get there is really necessary. Because otherwise it just lingers. Just
yeah.
lingers.
Okay.
Well, so yeah, so I think that's what my question is. Kind of the problem is like I don't want to just spring it on one of our random working group meetings. But if we do like enough advanced warning on
Yeah.
like say the mailing list and Slack and say, hey, we're gonna run through run through the list on one of these meetings and make another cut. I think that'll be fine.
Well,
Yeah.
and if you wanted to update it, I'm sorry, Amir, go ahead.
I was just gonna agree with Jeff.
It might be a lot easier to do a version 1.1 if we started with the version 1 list and just asked, instead of trying to redo the whole thing because there's limited time and effort, you know, propose deltas. What's missing, what should be dropped. My guess is not too many things are going to get proposed as dropped, but I can easily see things being added. And
Mhm.
I would say relax the 100 to say 150. So that'll let you add up to like around 40 new projects. Because we ended up with just a little over 100. And then that way, people, you only have to fight about the new stuff or a proposed removal of an old thing.
Hmm.
So if we do, I'm looking at like January 26th is our EMEA friendly meeting, and those usually have more people joining. So if we like start with a lot of communications in the new year, do you think we could do a list, do an update on that meeting?
I don't know that. Oh, you're okay.
Sorry.
V11, yeah, V11/date, whatever the date is.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do it in one meeting. Well, you probably could. I think we did manage to do the original one meeting, but that was because most of the work was done ahead of time by people creating the here's the deltas and then arguing over the proposed deltas.
I see.
But yeah, you know what? You know what? Maybe we could do that if people would create ahead of time a list of a sheet, whatever, of here's what should here are the proposed deltas ahead of time. Yeah, I know. No. Don't come prepared. Have people work together to create a sheet of proposed deltas. And then at the meeting, basically everybody has seen ahead of time and you can argue about them.
Got it.
Does the difference make any sense? So that anybody who read the sheet ahead of time is ready to argue against it. And I would also propose having columns for individuals so that they can either yay or nay or something. Or it didn't even have, or at least include a column for justification.
Hmm. Yeah, and I'm gonna make an argument that I think we can get a lot more done during the work group meetings. Because yeah, thinking back to that first iteration, I mean, we got a lot done in those couple of calls we had, and I think it's just because, we had everyone at the table, we had everyone discussing. So I'm gonna lean towards maybe trying to get more done in the work group meetings, as opposed to offline. Especially, stuff that obviously requires like a group consensus or something like that.
Right. I think what worked last time on version 1 was that we pre-created a Google sheet of what was on the table for discussion.
Yeah.
And then the work group enabled people to create the consensus, argue quickly back and forth, yay or nay, and and either convince somebody or at least putting all the cards on the table so that a wider group could come up with a rough consensus. Because
Mhm.
I think in many cases people understood the pros and cons of including it once the cards are put on the table, and that helped make the decision, if that makes any sense.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we've got on our current sheet, and we've got the tab for community OpenSSF member additions. We also have a tab for candidate projects. There's like a one work on next, one,
Yeah,
two,
we
three.
could just use one of
Correct.
those
Yeah.
tabs.
So
Where is that sheet? Let me pull up the link here. Or actually, you probably already, if you're there, can you just copy paste the link in there?
yeah,
Sure. Yeah. It's also at the top of the notes sheet too. We've kept it.
Oh, it is. Okay. All right. Never
static
mind.
up there, yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that really worked, I think, Jeff, because it was almost just like a multi-tiered system, right? So we would have candidate projects, and then something would happen, some kind of analysis, discussion, what have you, and then we would get, you know, the final, I guess you could say, or the recommend the set of the projects that
Mhm.
are deemed critical. So if that worked, I'm happy to keep doing it. Or
Yeah, I don't think we need to do a like call for deltas, because we
Huh?
essentially got a lot of feedback a year ago when we released it, right? Like a lot of people opened up issues, etc., and we have
What,
that
what,
captured, right?
what we do? Where is that?
Like people opened up GitHub issues in our working group.
yeah, we
for
do
example.
have, I would say, I think maybe 5 issues or so that folks open to when we did this the first time. Yeah, they to recommend projects, to recommend new projects, which
And we,
kind of is what kind of made me start thinking about using GitHub to kind of manage this whole process, because I feel like, you know, instead of, for example, creating a Google sheet with a tab for every single, let's say, person who wants to participate, like anyone theoretically maybe could, if they have a project to recommend, could, you know, open an issue, say, you know, I recommend this project, this is why, and, you know, we would have that, you know, as a record
The,
in
the
GitHub.
challenge, the challenge is that does it definitely creates better version control, but it also creates friction for adding proposals. And so I
Yes.
guess the question here is, where's the bigger problem? Um,
Mhm.
um, yeah, there's a tab that says candidate projects.
Yeah.
Although, I
Yeah.
mean,
So
some
the
like package managers. I mean, that's a whole category.
yeah. Oh shoot. Sorry. Yeah. So these were candidates. So, you know, if you or me was like, hey, I think, you know, boring SSL should be on this set of projects, it would get to this list of, or this set of candidates, and then we would basically go through these candidate projects as a work group and give it like the final yay or nay.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about a lot of these. Like package managers really isn't a category.
yeah,
Uh, bo- I mean, boring SSL, they say, please don't use this.
I mean, we can clearly vote no on
Ubuntu
that,
and Debian and CentOS. I mean, those are whole distros. That's not narrow
right?
enough to be useful. And most of the rest of these, when you start looking at like row 24 and on, there were no originalities, and I can't imagine that those will get added later.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, like I agree. Like we can go through this and we can boot the ones that don't make sense. I mean, as part of updating the list.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think this is at least 23 or so, 20 some projects, and then in the community OpenSSF member editions there are 70. So that's enough, I think, to go through for an update. I think the problem is we need to dedupe, like, are some of these already there, and get some of some of the other numbers for even for these for
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, and for version control, which I agree is you might want to, for example, create another tab of the version 1.1, what I'm calling version 1.1, whatever the date
right.
is, the update.
Yep.
But yeah, but I'm in agreement. I think if we did a couple of these exercises, and like you said, David, when I joined in, set a deadline for this, I think we could probably get another cut out that we can say, we did all this, and it's gonna ideally continue to be updated, as things change, but this is our version of, this is our set, and can stand by it in some way.
Right. Yeah, this isn't. In fact, I really loved Jacques' presentation earlier about how to do a much better job at this, because he had some awesome points. But it's obviously taking us longer. So,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
we're not even close to that. Like, we're just trying to get an input form set up. We're not even at the point where we're like sending these out for voting. Like, we're still just voting as a working group. We're just trying to get more
yeah,
automated and very, diverse input into the process,
yeah.
yeah.
which I think is a good step.
Yeah, I do think that what really, I mean, there are things that didn't work well last time. I think the very, very short fuse was a problem, basically. But, you know, I do think that a lot of what made it a lot easier was the ahead of time making the list, letting people write down why, and letting people read asynchronously. But then the
Mhm,
synchronicity comes in that discussion
mhm.
or to make the group consensus.
So, Amir, okay, let's think. Let's not put
Mm,
dates on it. Let's count meetings.
Okay, yeah, let's.
So like if we spent one meeting working on cleaning up the current list, uh like gathering all the uh like creating a new copy of this, gathering all the suggested ones, putting it on a new sheet, and trying to fill in some of these fields, like making sure that it's open source. Trying to
Right.
fill, making sure that like getting some of these download counts, etc. We'd have to do that for a meeting or two before
Yeah.
we even kind of send out the list of projects we're going to consider.
Yeah.
Or
Well, I found that one of the key ones, this is going to be, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but at the very least, the project name and the URL,
yeah,
um, just getting the URL is remarkably hard
Yeah.
for some projects, because you immediately discover that, oh, your zip and mine zip aren't the same zip, kinds of stuff.
okay. So
But basically, at the very least, the URL. Now, the more you can get on licenses and language and any other data, I would love to see a scorecard, an OpenSSF scorecard result, for example. That would be very
mhm.
interesting. Maybe criticality. So criticality is much more focused on how many people are supporting it, are contributing to it. So it does miss the ones where it's kind of abandonware, but still, it can be helpful.
Yeah. So I would say, Jeff, maybe to be safe, especially because we're doing alternating timelines, if we just set 2 meetings to do that, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. So I guess if there's any other columns like scorecard value or criticality value, and if people want to fill them in, or if we've got an automated way to fill it, that's awesome. But if we don't, having people manually who are proposing it try to fill it in. Comment/thoughts was kind of the justification. I think that was helpful, and I think in retrospect, it would have been far more helpful if any proposer had filled in those ahead of time. Thoughts?
How many weeks should we do? Like, let's say we have our cleaned up sheet ready with an
Mhm.
empty column for comments and thoughts, and we want people to look at it ahead of time before we have the meeting, and drop their comments or thoughts, or at least get them ready for the meeting.
I think you
Mhm.
need at least 2 weeks,
At least two.
because that way, if somebody takes a week off, you still give them a week to
I
work on
think
it.
we need longer.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Maybe
I
not.
think a month at most. I mean, this is version 1. You still are going to want to work on version 2, right?
Yeah.
Here's the problem: if you give yourself, let's say you give yourself 3 months, I will tell you what will happen. 2.5 months, nothing will happen. In the last 2 weeks, work will happen. So why delay everything for 2.5 months unnecessarily? Here's your 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Me, 4 weeks I
That's
could
fair.
see, but don't do any more because you
Right.
will get no more work with more
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Please convince me I'm wrong, because I'd rather be wrong on that point. I don't think I am, but I would rather be wrong.
Well, I mean, if we complete the list in 2 meetings, and then
Well,
4 weeks is only just skipping 1 meeting before we actually vote, you know?
right,
So,
right. But I think what you need first meeting is, hey, we've been working on V2. It's taking longer than anticipated. Let's come up with an updated one and basically walk through a process, which I think is
yeah,
basically copy the current tab, have everybody add proposed changes with and filling in information, and then we walk through the deltas.
right.
And probably adding a column or 2 or 3. I do think that probably the biggest failing for the last time was not having people fill in the table entries. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm the one who filled in the URLs for all this nonsense. Amir, did you also end up doing some of that glorious
Yeah,
work?
it was largely both of us. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It wasn't just me. It was you too. But like
But
Six
yeah, it
Store still
mostly
isn't there.
fell on
Shame on
us.
you.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, maybe because the more information we're going to request up front, the harder it'll be for people to do. So even if it's just a project name and a URL, I mean, and some kind of justification.
Yeah, and some of these
But
is a
it
little.
is definitely going to be work to update this and like keep it fully updated all the time. So the
Yeah,
more we can automate it, the better for sure. Or the more we can update it maybe as part of our processes, like, as we do another iteration, let's say, or do some kind of exercise as a work group. Part of that involves updating this spreadsheet.
yeah. But a lot. I think a lot of the challenges would be reduced if proposals tried to fill in these entries for their deltas.
Mhm.
The very
Correct. Yeah.
obviously at least the URL, and then why would it be selected? The selection criteria, language license, and comments. By the way, just slipped in Sig Store. The problem with Sig Store is that it's actually multiple projects. So I added a URL to the .dev, but it's not the repo because there's multiple repos. Don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah. And actually, you bring up a good point in that maybe if we're able to um, if we're able to have maybe specific requirements of like what can or can't be nominated, it would almost maybe help us a little bit with some of the pre-screening, like saying, it can't be so vague that you just put in like operating systems or
Right. It
package
can't be a Linux
managers.
distro. Yeah, it can't be a distro because it's just too big. You could
Yeah.
argue the same that you could argue. I mean, Kubernetes, for example, is huge, but it is still a single thing. I think it's not so much size. Is it really a single thing, or is it a huge mass of
Other things.
code from other right? If it's an amalgamation of other projects, it doesn't count. Okay, I'm talking myself through this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like a Linux kernel doesn't count, not just because of size, but because it's really an amalgamation of many other projects external to it.
A distro.
Yeah. Yeah, don't do a distro or anything like that where it's really a combination of others. Whereas Kubernetes, as I say, it's actually bigger than some operating system kernels. It's still, you know, a single entity. There's a single repo. There's a, you know, group of people who view those as a single project.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Amir? Should we start on the next meeting as a working meeting and just set it aside?
Yeah, I think we should. I think we can yeah, I'll let me create a table at the top so that we can track it.
And you
But
know what?
yeah,
On your, if you're going to do it over a 4-week period, you can say that the middle week period is for you can have at least 2 agenda items. One is how are things going? Questions, and the other is okay. Let's talk about V2.
Yeah.
So making it clear that this is not the end version. This is just a, you know, we did stuff in what, it's 22 through 21. You know, we did stuff in 2021. This is a way to at least have an update while we still work on the longer term, better list.
Sounds good.
so okay, so I think then so our next meeting is, am I seeing this correctly, on the 12th? January 12th?
Yeah, 12th APAC.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see. Am I going to be here? All right. And I will have to tell you, by the way, now that I've stirred up all the trouble, I can't be here on the 12th, but I can go rah, rah, rah. But I'm going to be off of my wedding anniversary, so I probably shouldn't miss that.
No.
Yeah, that sounds more important.
But I do think this is important, even though I'm going to have a conflict.
Oh, we're not even voting. We're just putting
2-9,
numbers into cells.
and then
Well, and you know what? I don't think if the result is relatively minor tweaks and a few additions, I don't think that's a bad result if that's what ends up happening. Even if it's just a minor refresh, you know, making sure that there's an opportunity to improve it is still a good thing. Even though it would be great to do this broader thing that, you know, Jock pointed out, which is, you know, I
Yeah.
actually think he's got a lot of great ideas there.
Is there a greater mailing list we could use for this
A greater,
than our own working group? Greater, like larger in scope,
um,
or should I
oh,
just at here on
you can
Slack?
you mean you can spam the other working groups, obviously. Although I think some are more likely than others. I mean, you might want to, you could spam the repos group, actually. They might have some really good insights on the what projects are important within their respective ecosystems. I don't know.
All right, well, we'll think about it.
And yeah, so just looking at your notes here. So we're looking at about 2 meetings, 3 including the one that we're skipping, 3. So we're looking at about a total of 6 meetings.
6
Seems
meetings
like
for
it.
what?
1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah,
5. 6.
you
I was
mean
thinking of like setting a target or a deadline for
okay.
maybe
Well,
having something done, or having
if you meet on the 12th and kind of talk through, here's the plan to do a mild update called V1. I don't know, maybe you want to have do you want to try to make that decision on the 12th? You want to give 2 more weeks before you start going on that?
We've discussed this already
Okay.
a bit.
All right. So
Yeah.
if we have discussion on, okay, here's what we're going to do and kick off on the 12th, then you have a break on the 26th. By February
I think it's
9th.
going to take us a couple meetings to get the sheet ready.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
would agree.
Okay, I don't know what for, but all right. Okay.
I mean, because we're going to do it working together, I think, because it's
Okay.
not going to get done otherwise.
Okay. It's
Okay,
just
so
it's not like, oh my gosh, 4 versus 6 weeks, someone's gonna get hanged. But I fear that we were supposed to have this done by last summer, and it hasn't happened. And this is the sort of thing that just keeps getting easily pushed forward.
Yep.
And that's what I want to try to figure out how to unstick this.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think we just need to commit to this and then put it on all of our meetings agenda and say this is what we're doing.
yeah, yeah. If you go up a little bit towards the top of our working group notes, I'm putting in a table to try and capture that.
Okay.
2 p.m. So if we're having a 2 p.m. though, that's the APAC time. Okay, that's 2 p.m. my time. That so
I think we need to have, Amir, I think we need to have update sheet essentially be the 12th and the 26th. And then break on the 9th.
But
Okay.
one group in particular I'm thinking of is, Alpha Omega is not committed to doing just whatever the sheet or the updated list is, but they take that list quite seriously, and they absolutely would look at an update of the critical projects list. But that requires that we give them one.
Okay. Okay.
They reserve the right to make their own decisions, but
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, we can certainly invite them to our session if they would like to.
right. I think at least Michael Scavetta, Michael Windsor's had a complicated schedule recently, but I think Michael Scavetta would certainly be interested. That's actually a good idea because he might actually have some helpful tips on what they're looking. I mean, I think this list has other groups who want to use it, not just Alpha Omega, but I mean, for Alpha Omega, the most important thing for them is the URL. Where the heck is this thing? But but even for them also a justification of why is this important, because that'll help them make their own decisions on which ones to fund.
Yeah.
Jeff, you okay?
What?
You just sniffed. Are you okay?
Oh no, I'm a little sick. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear it. You are
I'm getting over it, so I'm past the hump.
All right. I'm glad for that.
Thanks.
If it consoles you, I'm sitting with my back getting warmed by a thing because I hurt my back on the flight back from Japan.
Oh
Oh
no.
no.
So my back was actually hurt before I even flew out, but I was, ibuprofen and kind of putting through it. And that last flight back was the flight that broke the camel's back, as it were. I'll be fine.
I haven't flown internationally in a while because last time my back hurt so bad.
Oh, well, I'm not. I'm going to be a terrible person to convince you otherwise. Although most flights aren't as long as Japan to DC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. Nice. But this sounds good though. I feel good about this, especially if we're gonna dedicate basically our working group meetings,
Yeah.
like a bulk, if not all of the working group session to do this, I think we can, I think we can have something.
And I think you can knock it, a couple meetings, one or two meetings to knock out the what are we going to do, spend some time, working it offline mostly, but then come back and do the discussions about what's in, what's out. And you can, it'll be some work, and there'll be some, I don't know, friendly argument. The good kind, the kind where everybody wants the right result, and they're arguing about making sure that we get the right result, and then you're done. and
Perfect.
and then you get to go back to the longer work of the V2, which um, I do think that I think Jacques has all sorts of great points about the data and making decisions and so on. I think all that is good stuff. It's obviously taking us longer to do that. And if there's something we can do halfway, maybe that would be a useful discussion between for the next meeting is what pieces can we borrow from the V2? Like I don't know how many people are going to be proposing new projects, but if somebody's only proposing 10 new projects, I mean, they can by hand look it up, right? What's the scorecard and what's the criticality score? And just whoever's the proposer, here's how you get that data. And then they can, and, we will encourage you to provide that data. If you don't, then that's fine. But, you know, you just,
Yeah.
if it's a small number of additions, it won't be that hard to add that. And I wonder, I bet somebody could create a little script if you gave me a URL and fill in the fill
That's
in the
what we're doing.
column.
That's what Randall's doing already.
But he's not doing it for V1, he's doing it for the whole V2 process, right?
That's basically what V2 is.
Okay.
Is just submit a project via like a GitHub PR, and then the script runs,
Mhm.
which pulls all the numbers and adds it to a CSV or a YAML, something like that.
Okay. Yeah,
That's
I
my
mean,
understanding.
okay. The problem is I don't. It doesn't look like it's almost done, and we're still working through some basics. So I don't know how much longer it's gonna take.
He says he's got a working demo.
Okay.
I haven't looked at it. I need to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get that demo soon. But then again, that's how it was a couple months ago. So yeah,
But yeah, that's exactly what we need, David, is like a script that runs whenever somebody submits a suggestion to fill out a spreadsheet for us. Or, something that's based on PRs and GitHub Actions and produces a YAML or CSV.
Yeah, and like almost all these new ones, there's no URL. So I don't even know exactly. Now, in a lot of these cases, I don't know. I will say that for the best practices badge, we had two URLs. One that was one was the homepage and one was the repo.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of projects where those are two different URLs. Like I just put in the one for Ninja. Maybe I should pull the GitHub URL. All right, so maybe, so I guess that would be the, let's see here, for V1. So I'm going to put, for V2, V1, should we have 2 URLs? There's a home page and repo page, since they aren't always the same. Are there any other columns that we would want to add that are important? Criticality score and OpenSSF scorecard score.
Actually, I don't know if we consider scorecard because criticality should be orthogonal, right?
Yeah, I could see that because I mean, because one thing I almost want to avoid is because like even like in our first iteration of this, you know, like for example, I don't think I added this, but like someone put like boring SSL, for example, and there's one comment, Michael Windsor, just like really question mark. Like, so the reason I bring that up is I think it's just important to highlight that like this is just data for you to consider, because I don't want people to just automatically think this is like some absolute thing that's infallible and will never have any incorrect information. So I almost feel like if the end product is just a set of projects and maybe a URL to that project and then some kind of justification criteria, I think that I think is the extent of what we need to output, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think Michael's comment is about the sheet is kind of sorted wrong. The Ruby.
Well, it's
so
alphabetic, right?
Yeah, but the languages license comments are not lined up with the right packages. They're a little like off by one or something.
Okay.
Oh, that's an issue. How
It
did
got
that?
kind of messed up.
Oh no, that's a problem.
If you scroll down, like the Kibana one is off by one. Like the Java other not open source is line
Where are you?
29 and Kibana's line 30.
Okay. So yeah, well, looks like
Oh
we'll definitely
man,
have to
that's a
make some
serious
updates to
problem.
this.
I wouldn't mind fixing this V1 if it's that, if that's the problem.
This isn't V1 though. This is the candidate projects, right?
Oh,
Yeah. This is
maybe
just some candidate project.
somebody probably inserted a row and
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Okay.
okay. Although wait, I think okay, I see. But for these, this is although I might okay, we should definitely fix this. Oh my gosh, I know Metasploit framework's not in Rust. That's you know, so Metasploit's in Ruby. I know that. Wow. What went wrong here?
Yeah, you can tell because Metasploit framework where it says Rust and Mozilla, it's blue. So definitely something I think with copying and pasting or inserting a row or something through this whole thing off a little bit. So
Okay.
we'll just have to fix that.
Okay. All right. So it's not in the
It's not in V1, no.
specific to AI.
It's like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. I mean, it looks really like
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah, we need to fix this. But you know, so basically, I think before, you know, but before any final group gathering on which one's important, obviously you would need to fill out ideally all the columns so that you know at least the why is it, you know, comments, thoughts is really justification in my mind.
Yeah.
In fact, can I just retitle the candidate projects list and call, instead of comments, thoughts, call it justification / comments, thoughts?
Sure. Yeah.
Because now, because the more people write down why do it that way. Wow, I think what happened is the some columns got sorted and the languages and licenses just they're, I don't think there's even I don't see any relationship. It might be better to eliminate it.
Yeah.
Youch. Yeah, Servo is a prototype web browser, and really that's 2 up.
All right, well, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna try to take a look at that GitHub, our GitHub directories on first week in January, and get the V1, V2 set up.
Okay. Yeah, and I set an action item to clean up this candidate projects
Okay.
tab. So
Okay.
by our next
I'll-
meeting, that this should be cleaned up.
Okay, I'm going to do a couple fixes of this where I can see it, and hopefully that'll help you out.
Oh, thank you, David.
But,
Thanks.
yeah, it looks like it was just, you know what? I don't even see a rhyme or reason. I think it was just sorted. I think the left-hand side was sorted, and it wasn't. Somebody didn't select the whole column, and now it's basically just kind of all messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of the few signed collections of Ruby gems. I don't even know which one that would be. That's amazing.
All right. Well, thanks. See you next time.
Okay, take care.
Yeah. You too. Feel better, Jeff. And if I
Thanks.
don't see you, have a great holidays and New Year. I'll see you next year.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. All right. Take care. Thank you as well, David. Appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Okay, take care.